Hello and welcome to the Philly Factor. I'm Paul Perello. It has been called a revolutionary concept by the Philadelphia Inquirer. Their motto is, quote, "Our wheels, your freedom." You've probably seen these vehicles on our streets as well as our highways. They are Philly Car Share, and the remarkable success story of Philly Car Share is the focus of this edition of the Philly Factor. What started out with 5 people meeting in the lobby of a Center City hotel has grown to 30,000 members strong in just 5 years. The concept allows a single car to be used by multiple drivers every day. The result allows people a chance to drive who might otherwise not be able to afford to drive, as well as reduce traffic on some of our area highways and cut down on pollution that has also become a part of life in the greater Philadelphia area. 2 of those original 5 people of Philly Car Share who were at that original meeting 5 years ago join us here on our program. Tanya Seaman is Executive Director of Philly Car Share, and Clayton Lane is Deputy Executive Director of Philly Car Share. And I'd like to welcome both of you to our program.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
5 years ago, you're sitting in the lobby of a downtown Philadelphia hotel. Who comes up with this idea? Who comes up with this concept to have this cooperative, if you will?
What's interesting is that we were thinking about it independently. So individually, we knew about car sharing from our studies in transportation and from reading what was going on in other cities. And we were all intrigued and came together actually as strangers for the most part, who were all interested in the same thing. And that helped us decide that the time was ripe to start car sharing in Philadelphia.
Now, Clayton, the concept of car sharing is new to Philadelphia for the most part, 5 years. But it's not necessarily a new concept when you look at the world stage.
Right. Car sharing started in the 1980s in Switzerland and Germany as small co-ops, which grew and grew. And now in Europe, it's very popular. Hundreds of thousands of people share cars, and it's becoming that popular in the United States.
What was the, in your individual cases, and 5 of you were all thinking about this individually, so what prompts this meeting then? I mean, how do you come together and say, we really should do something here? So, what prompted the 2 of you to sort of take the bull by the horns, if you will, and decide to, convene this meeting and start this program?
Well, individually, we'd been doing a little bit of research, contacting others, and a couple of us contacted the same person, and that's how we found out about each other. And so we decided, let's see what we can do here in Philadelphia. And each of us had different talents, and some of us were talking to community associations, trying to generate some interest in Philly Car Share, and others were working on the business plan. So together, we pooled our talents and decided to work on starting this program.
And we were all city lovers, so all of us had a personal investment in trying to make Philadelphia a better place to live. And we recognized that cars, while they're important for our city and society, also get in the way of a very livable city. So we wanted to try to promote a city in which cars are not as important, and the city and the people who live in it are more important.
So explain to me then, because as I said at the outset of the program, and I've noticed driving the Schuylkill Expressway every day, that there are these red cars, new cars that say Philly Car Share on the side, and that sort of prompted me to go to the website to find out more about Philly Car Share, which I will give out the information during the program. But what is the mission, or what is the goal of Philly Car Share? What is your mission statement?
Our mission is to reduce automobile dependence in the Philadelphia region through car sharing. So we are interested to get cars off the roads, help people decide to drive less, walk, bike, take transit more, save money that they otherwise would spend on cars. But we don't do it by telling people drive less. We do it by just providing a very convenient and affordable alternative. And once people unbundle all those fixed costs of owning a car and they just pay by the hour, people choose to drive less because they save money in the process. And it's very convenient also.
This is sort of, I don't want to give the impression that this is, carpooling for the year 2007, 2008, because it's not carpooling. That was a concept that sort of came and went with relative degrees of success, and some would argue maybe not that much success. But this is not carpooling. So a person that becomes a member of Philly Car Share, they're actually getting your wheels, and it's sort of their freedom, hence your motto.
Correct. Right. So people enroll online. They become a member of the organization. We give each person their own key to the cars, and it's a unique key. So they make a reservation for the car, walk up to it, drive away, return the car when they're done. And it's that simple. We have cars on every block in Center City, many cars actually, at each location. So they're very easy to access. They're closer than they would park their own vehicles. So we've made car sharing very simple, very easy to use.
In order for this to work, Clayton, though, I guess there's got to be a wonderful relationship with the municipality. And in the case here of Philadelphia, I mean, the five of you could have had that meeting 6 years ago at the DoubleTree. But if there wasn't cooperation from the city, you could have been rolling that boulder uphill and
Right.
going nowhere.
Right, and we did do it as volunteers at first, but we got tremendous help from the city. Initially, about 9 to 12 months into it, the city of Philadelphia actually joined Philly Car Share, became a member. And the city did this through a fleet reduction project in which they reduced their fleet by 330 vehicles, sharing cars with local residents. So city employees may need cars 9 to 5 during business hours, residents evenings and weekends. So it's very complementary, it works. And the city here was the first in the world to do this, and other cities have followed suit. The city's been very progressive. And in the process, it saved a lot of money, about $6 million so far. So we're all very proud of that.
Oh, that's great. Now, I do want to give the website out because, as Tanya mentioned, they can go online and register to become a member of Philly Car Share. And it's quite easy to remember. It's phillycarshare.org. And you could call 215-730-0988 if you would like more information. We'll have that information up on the screen throughout the program. But again, it's phillycarshare.org. And they log on, they register, and then what happens if they are, is it beneficial to a person if they only may need a car 1 day a week? Is it beneficial if they need a car 5 days a week, but only for 2 hours every morning? I mean, are there flexible ways to sort of, become a member of Philly Car Share?
Sure. We have a variety of types of users. We have folks who hardly ever need a car. On occasion, they might need a pickup truck or a second car for their household, and other people who need a car once a week for grocery shopping. Somebody else who carpools his kids to school 3 days a week. So there's a variety of frequency of use. And different trip types. We have, again, the carpooling example, we have businesses that have joined so that their staff can get to meetings outside of town and be able to take transit into work. Or they have employees who don't own their own cars. So this makes it easier to do their jobs and get around town.
And what's common to all of our members is that they can get to work without driving alone. And it's for those non-work trips when they still may need a car. They need a car to go to the big box retail store or go to the home improvement store or go to the suburbs or a doctor's appointment. For those occasional trips that need a car, without Philly Car Share, many people typically would own a car. Now they no longer have to. They can get to work by transit or walking, and they take our cars very occasionally for these other non-work trips.
And the other thing, too, is, as I said at the outset of the program, it's giving people freedom who otherwise may just be tired of owning their own car, the cost of owning their own car, the cost of insurance of owning your own car. But it ultimately has got to be doing wonders for the environment, because if we could take even 10 vehicles out of circulation, even for a day, you're cutting emissions dramatically.
Absolutely. If you want to talk about some of those
Right, so
impacts.
we surveyed our members recently and discovered that our 30,000 members so far have gotten rid of almost 13,000 vehicles. They actually sell their cars or just avoid purchasing them after they join because this works so well for them. And then they drive less, about 42% fewer miles. When they do drive, they tend to drive hybrids. And they make fewer cold starts. A cold start is what happens when you first start up your car and it emits a lot of pollution because the car is cold.
Sure.
Our cars are used 4 or 5 times a day by different users, so they stay pretty warm. And when you add all that up, the emissions that our members produce from driving has been reduced by about 90 to 95%.
Wow.
So it's really huge.
Yeah. You mentioned the hybrid cars. Now, all the vehicles in the fleet of Philly Car Share, are they all hybrids, or are there some regular cars also out there?
About half of our fleet is made up of hybrids, and the rest are a variety of vehicles, pickup trucks, little sports cars, convertibles, the Mini Cooper, BMW, Audi. So we have a variety of sort of fun cars, and then we have Toyota Prius and the Camry hybrid,
Sure.
and the Honda Civic.
So you can take a pickup truck to carry mulch, and then a BMW to take around some clients, and then hop into a Mini Cooper for a hot date.
Sounds like a plan to me. Sounds like a plan to me. Now, if membership is free and they could log on to phillycarshare.org and become a member, you guys at the end of the day have to pay your bills. You got to pay for these cars. You got to pay, I'm assuming, for the gas that's going into the fuel that's going into these cars. So how do you generate your funds then to maintain the operation?
The revenues that we receive from providing the car sharing service actually cover all of the cost of that service. And we charge hourly rates. So our members pay rates starting from just $2.90 per hour plus 9 cents a mile. And we also have daily rates starting at $29 a day. And that covers everything. We provide $1 million of insurance in that. It includes gas. There's actually a fuel card in the vehicle, and our members fuel up on us. And it includes reserved parking, which is a big premium in the city.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You can't even get sometimes a spot in front of your own house, and you have a driveway in the back. You can't even, sometimes can't even get that. Let's talk a little bit about, the spots around town, because I know these pods are sort of popping up all around town, and that's where you might see a Philly car share vehicle parked. People might be intrigued by these cars parked in these specific, locations. How do you sort of work the deal or negotiate the deal for a pod, whether it's in South Philly or Northeast Philadelphia or North Philadelphia?
Well, we have a lot of close relationships with parking operators, and that helps us a lot in Center City. But also in neighborhoods outside of Central Philadelphia, there aren't necessarily commercial lots available, so we work with whoever we can. And the Parking Authority actually has been very helpful in providing on-street spaces for us in neighborhoods where there isn't commercial parking. And we work very closely with communities and with local property owners and anybody who might have an opinion to make sure that the location of an on-street space works well. But basically, like Tanya said, we're trying to bring our cars even closer to people than they could park their own, because that's our real competition, is private car ownership. And we've been successful in doing that to the point where, in Center City at least, in West Philadelphia and South Philly, every block or every 2 blocks, there is a Philly Car Share pod. And usually you can see the cars and they're all lined up, and so right here I can get a car anytime.
Let's talk about insurance, because Philadelphia is notorious for escalating car insurance rates. If a person becomes a member of Philly Car Share, do they carry the insurance, or you're actually carrying the insurance for the driver?
Right. We carry the insurance for all of our drivers.
Okay.
And it's this $1 million of coverage.
And that's all included in that basic hourly rate or daily rate that you're getting. There are no hidden charges or costs that come, after the fact. Is that, so if a person can't afford car insurance, and that sort of prohibits them from getting from point A to point B because they can't afford the car insurance, let alone the car, this is a viable option for them.
Absolutely. They don't need car insurance at all.
What about maintenance of the vehicles? You mentioned, the gas cards are great, but if a car gets a flat, hopefully they're not just leaving the vehicle on the side of the road and calling you and say, hey, Tanya, I got a flat, can you come out here and fix it? Or if something happens where a belt breaks and the car is sort of disabled because of those normal things that sort of pester every motorist out there. Who's responsible for the maintenance?
Right.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned the example of Tanya going out there, because at the very beginning when we had 5 or 10 cars, that was Tanya.
Right, because it is our responsibility to take care of the cars.
Sure.
So we take them in for very frequent and regular maintenance so that they're in tip-top shape, and so they do very well. When there are incidents, though, like a flat tire or an accident, because those do happen,
Sure.
We do send our staff out, and we do work with towing companies. It is our responsibility to take care of those cars. And we have a 24/7 number, a hotline, that our members can reach us on if they have any question about even how to use the car. So that's how they reach us, and we provide that service then.
So now we have a full fleet staff of about 15 people who takes care of these cars every day. They wash the cars, they take them for preventative maintenance, they take them for repairs.
Who would be the typical member of Philly Car Share? Are we talking college kids? Are we talking senior citizens? Are we talking people who occasionally drive, people that frequently drive? Can you give us sort of an idea of the demographic makeup of your typical, Philly Car Share member?
Well, the overview is everybody. We have from college students to senior citizens, but maybe you want to fill us in on some
Sure.
of the specifics.
The most likely candidate to join Philly Car Share is somebody who lives in the city or in a dense neighborhood where they can get to work without driving, but they still need a car occasionally. Demographically, our members are very diverse, but they do tend to be a little bit more well-educated, and we think that's because it's a relatively new concept, and sort of well-educated folks are kind of looking for new progressive things to try out. But increasingly, we see that our demographics are getting much more into the mainstream, which we're very happy about.
We're sort of focusing on Philly Car Share in the city of Philadelphia, but what if there's a person living in Center City who works in Ballackinwood? Can they take the vehicle outside of the city limits into Montgomery County, Bucks County, Chester County, Delaware County, maybe even over the bridge to South Jersey?
Yes, you can travel anywhere within the 48 contiguous states with our vehicles. It's really, Philly Car Share fits a niche that public transit doesn't quite reach and that walking and biking doesn't quite do the trick for.
Sure.
So you can travel much further than with our vehicles than you would otherwise.
And we also have some suburban pickup locations now as well. So we are in Upper Darby, Chester, the Main Line, Widener University, Ursinus, and so on. And we'll be continuing to expand out into the suburbs, again, in these denser neighborhoods that are well served by transit.
I want to get into a little bit about how the whole operation works from the moment you log on to phillycarshare.org or you call and make that reservation. Do they need to make the reservation 24 hours ahead of time, 2 weeks ahead of time, an hour before time? I mean, what is the best, I guess, advice that you can give? I guess the more time you have, the better advance notice you have. It makes it much easier on your end.
Sure. The more notice you provide, the easier it is to get the car you want. But most reservations literally are made about 3 hours before people take the car. You can walk up to a car, check to see if it's available, reserve it, and take that car. So availability is pretty good. People don't plan that far in advance.
Sure.
So you can get a car when you need it, pretty much.
And in many parts of the city now, you may have 50 or 60 cars within a 5-minute walk of where you are. So you can feel pretty assured that you can get a car at the last minute. Now our peak time, not surprisingly, is Saturday afternoon because a lot of non-work trips happen then. If you want a car at the last minute at the peak period, you might have to walk a few more blocks to find the type of car that you want. But still, typically, you can get a car whenever you want it.
And they're told where they can go and pick up the vehicle, and then they have one of these key devices that gets them into the vehicle. And do they have to return the vehicle back to the original spot, or if it's a one-way trip or a one-way destination, or there's not somebody waiting at the other end of of the city waiting for that car because they got to go back the other opposite direction? How does that work?
It's all a round trip. So a one-way trip has to be paired with one back.
To the same place
To the
where
same location.
Okay.
Right.
So that car is yours for the entire time when you have it out until you bring it back. And then the next reservation on that car is expecting to find the vehicle at its home where you picked it up.
What happens if that person in making that round trip is delayed because, dare I say, they're stuck in traffic?
That never happens.
Yeah, right, in your
Right.
world, but no, I understand. But they may be on the Schuylkill Expressway and everybody's trying to get to where they need to go, and then all of a sudden a tractor trailer decides to overturn, and now you're stuck behind it and you're going to be there for quite some time. What happens in that case?
Right. So that member needs to call us. We have our 24/7 response. And we can work to extend their reservation. And if there's somebody else, we'll make sure the other person is accommodated. So.
You mentioned that you have an hourly rate, a daily rate. Is that all done by credit card, or is it sort of like an easy pass where you could buy all the time up front and then you just whittle away? I mean, how does that work? Is it all by credit card?
It is by credit or debit card. So people make a reservation, they pay an estimated amount up front, or they can prepay at the beginning of the month and then work it down, just as you mentioned with Easy Pass.
And that if they use, if they do a prepay and they don't use it as much in that month, that just carries over to the subsequent months?
Absolutely.
The other thing, when the 5 of you were sitting there at the DoubleTree and you had this idea, did you think 5 years later there would be 30,000 members?
That was our vision.
Right.
And we knew that our means at the time were very modest. So we wanted to do this thing that was much, much bigger than any of us could do at the time, but that's where we wanted to go. Now, fortunately, that's where we've gone, and the trajectory for what we're doing right now is pretty steep. We're growing by about 3,000 to 4,000 members a month right now. And we expect and hope that we'll be able to expand the system to the point where much of Philadelphia is using this service, where sharing a car is just as convenient as owning one in almost every neighborhood of the city.
When you started, how many vehicles did you have?
We started with 2 cars.
2 cars. How many cars are there today?
We have over 400 cars.
400 cars. As you look now to the future, that 400 fleet, that you have right now, has got to grow. If you're bringing 3,000 to 4,000 members on a month, you're going to have to grow the fleet.
Absolutely. And so this year we have been adding cars at the rate of around 30 new vehicles per month and placing them in all different neighborhoods. But the market in Philadelphia is really large. We are a very dense, large, transit-rich city, which makes it a great car-sharing city. And when we look at who lives out there, there's about 2 million people in our region who get to work without driving a car. And about 1 million of those people live in neighborhoods dense enough to support car sharing. So even if just 10% of those people join, that's 100,000 car sharers. It's really a whole bunch.
Now, does Philly Car Share own the vehicles, or are you leasing the vehicles? Because with 400 vehicles, that's a tremendous upkeep on a regular basis to make sure that the tires are rotated and the oil's changed and all that. Or and if they're all new vehicles, people would say, how are you able to do this? Or are you leasing the vehicles?
Right. It's a combination of leasing and owning, but in any case, we still maintain all of them ourselves.
Sure. Yeah. Where do you see this going, 5 years from now? If we're still doing this show and you're celebrating 10 years of Philly Car Share, you would think, well, if they did 30,000 in the first, are you looking for 60,000 by your 10-year anniversary?
I would hope that we would reach that milestone even sometime next year or the year after that. We're really hoping and envisioning that car sharing will become so much part of the mainstream culture that, as Tanya likes to say, when you move into your new house in Philadelphia, you sign up for your electricity, for your gas, and for your car sharing, because you know that you don't have to own a car in the city.
In fact, most of our members would now choose a location that has a Philly Car Share pod nearby, and we see advertisements. We want Philly Car Share just to be the norm.
We see advertisements from property managers and from owners of property saying, they list all their amenities, and one of them is very commonly now, there's a Philly Car Share pod across the street.
Sure, yeah. Are other cities, sort of replicating, have they come to you and said, we like what you're doing in Philadelphia, can you sort of give us some guidance to do this in Detroit, Los Angeles, New York? They've got to be paying attention to what you're doing here in Philadelphia.
Right. We work with the other car sharing organizations across the U.S. and in Canada. We share information and best practices on a regular basis.
And we've also helped some new car sharing organizations get started just by sharing information and teaching them how to do it. So organizations in Minneapolis and Cleveland and Austin, Texas, we've helped to actually guide the way and show them the best practices.
Your rates are very attractive, given that if you go to any of the rental car dealers right here in Philadelphia, on a daily basis, you're probably going to pay, I think you said it was $27 a day for the daily rate. You're going to pay at least triple that for a daily rate. So again, if people are looking for an option, Philly Car Share is definitely the way to go.
It is really attractive, and those rates that we provide include $1 million of insurance.
Sure.
Though, with that said, we don't view the rental industry as competition so much as complementary. We see that when people join Philly Car Share, they also take transit more, they walk more, bike more, they rent a car more, and so we see all of these different parts of the transportation system working together to help people not have to own a car.
Yeah. Again, I want to mention that you can register online, and membership is free. It's phillycarshare.org. phillycarshare.org. You see it there on your screen. The phone number is 215-730-0988. And if you got to have a driver's license.
Right.
That's a given.
That's right.
Do you have to have a clean driving record to become a member and to take a car from Philly Car Share?
That's correct. You have to have had your driver's license at least 2 years and have a fairly clean record.
If there is, if people have more questions, they could always call the office, or they can, is there a way that they could go onto the website and send a question to Philly Car Share if people want more information?
Sure, they can certainly call our office or write to us at info@phillycarshare.org.
Okay. And again, that number is 215-730-0988. And do you, when you sit back and look at this, I mean, you got to be like the proud parents of this, because starting with 2 cars 5 years ago and having seen this tremendous growth, what goes through your mind? I mean, I'm guessing that the 5 of you have got to be very happy that you had this chance meeting, if you will, at a downtown hotel.
Yeah, we feel very proud of what we've accomplished, and this year has been remarkable. We started with 9,000 members, and now we're at 30,000 members. So we've put a lot into it, of course, and we feel it's really been worth it. We've made a huge impact.
I would think that the biggest challenge is sort of getting out in front of the public in general and sort of tell your story. And I know there have been a number of newspaper articles about what you've done. This television program sort of gets you out there in the public to sort of, scratch the surface of Philly Car Share. But I guess that's got to be the biggest challenge, is educating the public about what Philly Car Share is all about.
Right. This service works so well for people that once people find out about it, for many it's really a no-brainer. But people are still finding out about it. And what we find is that most people learn about Philly Car Share from a friend who's using the service, and then they'll see a car on the street and they might read an article, but it's really that relationship with a friend who tells them about how the service works and how it could work for them that's encouraging so many people to sign up.
Yeah, and just like any business, referrals very, very important, and I think you sort of hit the nail on the head there. Again, if you want more information, you can go to phillycarshare.org. You can get more information there. If you would like more information, just drop an email to them. If you want to give the office a call, 215-730-0988. It's been a fascinating half hour, and I thank you both for coming in and discussing this great work, this great program that hopefully many people will take advantage of. And again, in 5 years, if you're celebrating your 10th anniversary, you got an invitation, if we're still doing this show, to come back and join us here on the Philly Factor.
We'll take you up on that.
Thank you very much for being with us. For the Philly Factor, my name is Paul Perillo. Thanks so much for being with us on our program.